when we're talking about a continuous function, the actual definition, well, the definition, but we're going to make it like easy. The definition of a continuous function is a graph or a function with no interruptions. Hello, can I write the S, please? When I'm talking about no interruptions, specifically no interruptions in the graph, that means that as you graph the function, you would never have to pick up your pencil to graph it. Most of the functions you've used in classes before this have been continuous, because if we think about drawing like a parabola, you like go whoop, and you never have to pick up your pencil. If you draw a linear function, you go whoop, and it works. But like if we were drawing, let's say a piecewise function that goes like this and then jumps down and then keeps going, you had to pick up your pencil to do the jumping part, right? That would be an example of a non-continuous function because there's an interruption in the graph. So there's a fact that we just need to know today to start us off. All polynomial, rational, power, exponential, logarithmic, and trig functions are continuous on their defined domains. Which makes sense because these are all the basic function types, and until we start making them funky and piecewise, their defined domains will be continuous. Now, a rational function and some of our trig functions do have vertical asymptotes, but that's because we pull that number out of its assigned domain. So they are not necessarily continuous from negative infinity to infinity, but they're continuous on their own domain, and we're going to talk about that, what that means in just a little bit. Before we get into the definition of continuity and how we will show, justify, or prove, for lack of a better word, that functions are continuous, we need to talk about the types of discontinuities. There are three main types of discontinuities. Don't overthink these. They're named very aptly. In this graph, I have all three types shown. Do you see that there are three places in this graph that are interruptions to the drawing of the graph? They represent our three types of discontinuities. I will give you a second to sketch this graph. First type of discontinuity, which is right here, without using fancy math words, how would you describe this?
Holes.
It's like a hole or a gap in the graph. This, if I'm giving it a true calculus name, is called a removable discontinuity. I'm just going to call it removable because I can't fit the word discontinuity in there. This right here, again, is a removable discontinuity. You would have called it a hole in a previous class. Cool. That is called a removable discontinuity. By the way, that removable discontinuity can be without a filled-in circle somewhere or even with a filled-in circle somewhere other than the continuous part of the function. So with or without that closed circle, a hole in the graph is called a removable discontinuity. This other discontinuity that you can see on the graph goes like this and then goes down here. That is called a jump discontinuity, which is awesome because it like jumps from one value to another, yes? So it's called a jump discontinuity. The third type of discontinuity I've actually already graphed on here. What is this called? We talked about them last time. What a vertical asymptote. That is kind of like how a hole is a removable discontinuity. A vertical asymptote is actually considered to be an infinite discontinuity. So we have our three types: our removable, our jump, and our infinite. Jump and infinite are sometimes grouped together and called non-removable. So basically, if you could plug it by 1 point, it's a removable discontinuity. If you cannot plug it with like 1 point, it's called a non-removable, but we can call them jumps and infinite discontinuities. As a little bonus right here, If you took AP Pre-Cal, I know you've seen this before. I'm not quite sure about my A2PC friends. But let's remember, in a rational function, because this will come in handy later, if you have numbers after cancellation left in the numerator, if you have factors, those create zeros for my function, which are x-intercepts. After cancellation, if you have a factor left in the denominator, that creates our vertical asymptotes. And then if you have a factor that cancels out of the top and bottom, that is called a hole. So our holes become our removable discontinuities, and our vertical asymptotes become our infinite discontinuities. A jump discontinuity will really only happen with a piecewise function, so they're really pretty obvious when they occur. So we've talked about the different types of discontinuities, but today's lesson is really more about proving or showing or justifying that a graph is continuous at a particular point. So we get into a major definition in this class. The definition today is called, well, it is the definition of continuity. This definition takes 3 parts. To prove or show or justify that something is continuous, you do all 3 parts of this definition of continuity. Step number 1 is to prove that f of c exists. So if we're trying to prove that a function is continuous at some point c, you first have to prove that the function has a value at that point. So f of c exists. The second thing that you prove is that the limit as x approaches c for the function f of x exists. And if we remember back to our lesson on limits, to prove that a limit exists, we must show that the limit as we approach c from the left is exactly the same as the limit as we approach c from the right. So we show existence, that the value at f of c exists. We prove that the limit as x approaches c exists. And the third thing that we show is that the limit as x approaches c for this function is the exact same as f of c. This ends up being one of the important things that we need to be able to write in a free response answer. So if you are asked ever about the continuity of a graph or a function, it is expected of you to be able to show me all 3 pieces of this definition of continuity. So it's very important we know all 3 steps. To give all 3 steps maybe a different idea here, we did the second part back when we did limits. And when I was explaining this to you, because I'm always craving Taco Bell, I said if you go to Taco Bell from your house and I go to Taco Bell from my house and we end up at the same Taco Bell, that limit exists. We're going to go further. That's step 2. We're going to go further. Once we get to Taco Bell, the question becomes, is Taco Bell there? Is Taco Bell open? That's part 1. So if we both arrive at the same Taco Bell and Taco Bell is open, we get tacos. Continuity is not about arriving at the same GPS location. That was limits. Continuity is about eating tacos. Did we get to the same Taco Bell? Is Taco Bell open? We eat tacos. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the problems today that you're going to do for the most part are not going to be like number answers. You are going to be explaining with math in a very particular way that things are continuous. This is the particular way you're doing it. Sound good? Everybody, don't be scared. Here's our first question. We want to show that the function below is continuous at x equal to 0. To show that something is continuous, we walk through all 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. Same 3 steps always for continuity. The piecewise function we're using for this question has 2 parts. We have, when x is not equal to 0, sine of x minus cosine x as the function that's in charge. But exactly when x is equal to 0, this quadratic is in charge. Not a big deal. We can handle it. when we're answering these questions, we walk through all three parts. So part number 1 says to show that g of that number exists. So I want to evaluate this function at 0, which means I want to plug the number 0 in. Do I plug the number 0 into the top equation or the bottom equation? Bottom, because that's where it says it's defined for 0. So this is going to be 0 squared minus 0 minus 1. Well, that's 0 minus 0 minus 1. What do I get? Negative 1. Great. We're done with the first step. We have shown that g of 0 exists. We got an answer. We got negative 1. Doesn't matter what it is as long as we can get an answer. Part number 2 is for us to check the limit. If we want to know the limit as x approaches 0, am I plugging 0 with direct substitution into the top part or the bottom part of this piecewise function? As I'm approaching 0? Top. Remember, x not being equal to 0 means everywhere else it is. So as I'm getting close to 0, that top business is in charge. So I'm going to directly substitute 0 into sine of x minus cosine of x. Oh boy, what's the sine of 0? 0. What's the cosine of 0? 1. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. That's step 2. I showed that the limit exists. I didn't have to do left side, right side because left side and right side are both the same equation. Part 3 asks me to show, and it does, that the limit as x approaches 0 for g of x is the same as g of 0. And is that true? Is the answer we got for the limit the same as the answer we got for the evaluated value? Amazing. We're saying negative 1 is equal to negative 1. True. We finish this off by saying therefore. This is the mathematical symbol for the word therefore. It's 3 little dots stacked up like a triangle. Therefore, g of x is continuous at x equal to 0. All of that is the answer. The 1, 2, 3 steps and our conclusion is your answer. It's not just your work, it is your answer. I have to see all 3 things. Now, a couple things I want to be very picky about. Did I use the word it anywhere in this conclusion sentence? You must refer to what we're talking about. The word it is like a cuss word in this class. Don't write it down ever. You have to tell me what it is. We are talking about the function g of x. So we say g of x is continuous, not it is continuous. I don't know what you're talking about. G of x is continuous. Cool? Shall we see one more example before I let you go try some? Because that's like it. Here's a new function. And this question's a little bit different, but like not that much different. It says, for what values of x is h not continuous? And we're going to justify our answer. How many functions are a part of this piecewise function? The last one, the answer was 2. What about this one? 3. We have 3 different functions that control this piecewise function. We have this function on the very top that controls the function in the graph when x is less than negative 2. We have this function at exactly negative 2. And we have this function when x is greater than negative 2. When we're kind of left with a problem like this that doesn't give us a number to check continuity for, we've got to use a little bit of prerequisite knowledge. What kind of function is this? Just this top part? Linear. Linear is always continuous. We know that. It's a polynomial function. It's continuous. We know this. What kind of function is the middle equation? Constant is the one I'm looking for, but constant functions are continuous. So this is a constant. If it's just a regular number, it's just one number. Now what about the last one? What kind of function is that? Cubic. Cubic is a polynomial function, which means that is also continuous over its entire domain. So individually, there's not one of these that has natural discontinuities. If it was a rational function, we would have to check for the denominator to be equal to 0, but we know that these 3 functions on their own are completely continuous, which means the only place in this problem where there might be a discontinuity is where we like trade off. Do you see how this one works less than -2, and then exactly at -2, and then bigger than -2? That's my trade-off point. So one is in charge, then the other's in charge, then the other's in charge. We have to check those points. In this case, we're checking -2 to see if it's continuous at -2. So we walk through our 3 steps with our number being -2. First things first, we evaluate h of -2. Okay, when I'm plugging in -2, am I using the top, middle, or bottom equation? I'm plugging in -2, exactly -2. The middle one is in charge when we're at exactly -2, which means h of -2 is 3. Check, that step is done. It exists. We have an answer for h of -2. If I go to do the limits, this time, as we approach from the left and the right, there is a different equation in charge of the left than there is from the right. That was not the case with the exact example before this. So to do this problem, I do actually have to check the limit as x approaches -2 from the left, which means I'm plugging with direct substitution -2 into the top equation. -2 times -2 is 4. 4 plus 3 is 7. Then I take -2 and I plug it into the right side of this equation as we're approaching from the right. Is that top, middle, or bottom? Bottom, because we want bigger than -2. So that means I'm plugging -2 into this cubic function. -2 times -2 times -2 is -8. -6 times -2 is +12. Plus 3, that equals 7. Does this limit exist? Yes, because the left side and the right side were the same. So in this next step, we say the limit as x approaches 2 of h of x is equal to 7. That's good. It exists. We got an answer. The problem is, you and I showed up at a Taco Bell at 7. Is Taco Bell even there? Yes. Where did I put it? Oh, yes, I did. Thank you so much. This part right here tells us where we showed up for our GPS. Our GPS took us to 7. Is that where Taco Bell is? No. So in part 3, we would say the following. We would say the limit as x approaches -2 for h of x is not equal to h of -2. And since we didn't pass the third step, we passed the first step, we passed the second step, but we did not pass the third step, we would say, therefore, h is not continuous at x is equal to -2. So when you see the word continuous, especially if it says to justify your answer or show, I'm looking for these 3 steps to be written. For you to evaluate the function, for you to evaluate the limit, to compare step 1 and 2, and write a conclusion sentence.